Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how we make some chocolate lollies and some chocolate Easter eggs. Now I don't do a lot of chocolate work, so you have to bear with me a little bit during this video. And it's also, this is a sped up version of a Facebook Live that we did last week. So I've got a little plastic bottle that I'm going to fill with white chocolate. I'm using the white Caliber chocolates. And what I'll do guys is put links below the video to everything that I've used so you can see what it is I've used. The links do take you to things in our shop, but you don't have to obviously buy them from our shop if you don't want to. And if you need to add colouring to get it to the colour you want, then you can do. I've used the purple colour mill. So if you're using the colour mill, guys, depending on what colour you're using, you might need to whiten the chocolate a bit first. So I actually used a white chocolate colour mill, just a little bit first, and then a bit of the kind of purpley coloured one after. The bottle is microwavable, guys, and it has got a little bit of leftover kind of purple chocolate in there from what I was making earlier. But I'm going to melt the white chocolate in there for about 30 seconds. And then I can squeeze little dots. Now, if it's a bit runny, just give it a little bit longer to set before you squeeze the dots. And I'm just trying to pipe them into my eggshell. So this is my little Easter egg mould. Again, I'll put links below to the one that I'm using. I'm putting in some ruby chocolate and we're going to melt it again. So it gives me a slightly different shade of purple. I maybe should have gone with a more obvious colour difference than what I did. But yeah, we've just melted it and we're just doing the same step again. Where we're just squeezing it into that mould. And you can do the same in your lolly mould as well. So can you see, guys, I've got lolly mould in the bottom corner of the screen. It's a flexible one, so they're easy to get out. But for that, I've squeezed in some little heart shapes and some little dots. So that's ready for me to use later. Now, I'm just checking the temperature of my chocolate because I don't want to get it too hot. So I've got some white chocolate and ruby chocolate. We've melted it together. Just make sure you don't go too hot with it, guys. Otherwise, your chocolate can bloom. And what we're doing is we're putting it in this little chocolate pourer. And I'm just going to pour it into the Easter egg mould. Okay. If your chocolate's too hot, it might bloom and go a bit funny, but also it's going to melt the dots that you've put in that mould. So, you know, make sure it's not too hot. So this is one that I did earlier. It's a slightly smaller egg mould, but I just wanted to show you how easy it came out of the mould. It's a different colour as well. We went for a slightly paler colour. So we did it in two halves, and then we poured some chocolate in the middle, and I pushed the halves together, and I'm going to kind of roll it about, shaking it about so that the fresh chocolate I've just put in the middle will cover all the inside and it should seal, hopefully, the two halves together. It was kind of a bit of a playing around with this as I've not really done it before. So once it's set, and you can leave it at room temperature to set, guys. If you're going to stick it in the fridge, don't leave it in there for long because you don't want to get it too cold, otherwise it can crack. I did actually put mine in the fridge to try and hurry it up. But you're just going to carefully pull off each side of that mould, and then I'm just going to scrape the seam a little bit just to neaten it up. So guys, for the chocolate lolly moulds, as I said at the beginning of the video, you can do exactly the same thing. So this is just the Silico Mart mini classic mould, and I'm doing the same thing where we're piping in that chocolate again from my little tube, my little squeezy bottle. Have a play around with, you know, if you want to do heart shapes or circles, it's up to you. And just like we did with the eggs, once those dots have set, we can put in some of our chocolate. So I'm using that ruby chocolate again, and we're just trying to cover the whole outside edges of the mold. I've just done two in this one, but obviously you can do the whole amount, and you can see on my board I've got some other colors that I did earlier. So just make sure you spread the chocolate to the edges. So you can use like a brush or a spoon. Just make sure if you are using a spoon that it's not really cold, because it will shock the chocolate and make it set a bit too quickly if the spoon's really cold. Okay, so once it's covered, just let that set. And then I also wanted to have a play around with the other two sort of empty little lolly holes with what happens if we mix these Caliber crisp pearls with some chocolate. So when I've practiced not putting this in lollies, but eating it, practice eating it, it just tastes like the Crunch Bar, which I thought was really nice. So that's what we've done here. So I've just mixed it with the chocolate and we've put them in the mould. So two of them are the ones we've already put the chocolate in the front of, and then the other two, there was no chocolate in the front of the mould and we've just put it straight in. Now I realised they're a bit bumpy on the back and maybe overfilled them, so what I've done is just put some greaseproof paper on the back of each one and sort of pressed it a little bit flatter, but ideally I should have put less in there. I've also pushed a stick in the end of each one as well before it has a chance to set. So the other ones, guys, that I had to go with was the same kind of thing, but I used yellow and pink lollies. So we're just going to pull these out of the mold. So the pink ones are the ruby chocolate, and then the yellow ones are the white Caliber chocolate with a little bit of yellow colour mill in there to get the colour. So I'm going to use some fondant, pale pink, And I'm going to cut out a tiny triangle. And what I'm going to do is stick this using a tiny bit of water onto my lolly, my chocolate lolly. I'm going to go fairly high up, probably just past halfway up. See if we can do another one for the other one. You don't have to use this cutter. I just thought it might be easier for me to use it for creating the little triangle shapes, but you can freehand the nose shape if you want. And then I'm taking some black. Now this is actually modelling paste that I'm using for this, so it's still edible, but it's a little bit firmer, so it makes it a bit easier for me to handle. And I've rolled it nice and thin, and then I'm cutting it in half, but a kind of a diagonal slant across the middle. And these are going to, can't speak today, these are going to become our eyelashes. So I'm going to curve it a little bit on there. I'm going to go fairly low down, fairly close to the nose, and you're going to stick it on. So you might want a bit of water. You can use glue if you want to use edible glue, or you could even use some melted chocolate on the back of them. I tend to make a bit of a mess with the melted chocolate, so I'm going for water instead. And you don't have to have like long eyelashes like what I've done on that one. You can just have two little curves for closed eyes if you prefer. And of course you can do open eyes. It's just closed eyes were a little bit easier. So I'm cutting an oval now. Again, I'll put links to this little cutter below the video so you can see what I've used. And put a line up the middle of my oval, and then I've kind of pointed each half of it to become little ears. I'm using water to press this on the top. So again, guys, this is just some fondant that I've used on the top. And now for the yellow ones, these are going to become ducks. So I've got some pale orange or kind of peachy colour. We're going to roll a ball and cut it in half for our little noses. And then we want two little balls that are squashed. They're just going to stick underneath each of the yellow bits for the feet. So they're actually really simple in design what we're doing for these, but it just gives your lollies a bit of character. So we'll take a little piece that we kind of roll and then fold in half, so it's got a little bit of hair, tuft of hair, or feathers I should say, on the top of their head rather than hair. I guess little chicks don't have hair. And we're going to do the same thing for the eyes. I'll try this one where the eyelids are kind of, or the eyelashes are curved downwards to see what difference it makes in the look. I think this one probably looks more asleep than the rabbit where its eyes are closed, but maybe a happy kind of closed eye. Whereas this one looks more sleepy. I think anyway. It's a bit long, just trim some bits off, and just be careful if you're touching the lollies that your hands aren't on them too long because they will melt the chocolate. So on this one, guys, we're going to go for open eyes. So I've cut two ovals in white. Again, you can use fondant or modelling paste, and then two slightly smaller ovals in black. Okay, again, I'll put links to the cutters I've used below. And then this is a white edible pen that I'm using just to put some little highlights in the eye. So it is edible, is the white in this pen. And then if you want to give them any pink on the cheeks, you can do. Again, use an edible powder. Just make sure it is edible. And just lightly dust on. So it's just with a dry brush that we're putting this on. So a bit of pink maybe in the middle of the ears, on the cheeks. And then if you want to spruce up the lolly sticks, you can put a little bow on there if you want to. I'm not very good at tying mini bows. But there we go. This one on there. Sometimes I try it on a little stick on its own and then slide it off and then back onto that. So let's have a look at those other lollies that we made earlier because they should now offset. So just pulling them out. So you can see I have got quite a few air bubbles in there. And then these ones look completely different. I quite like the ones that aren't smooth on the surface. So these ones where you can see the little crisp pearls in the middle, I think they're a more sophisticated look. Or maybe just scruffier, I'm not sure. But I quite like them. And they taste really nice, guys. So they taste just like those, I forgot what the chocolate bar was called. The crunch bar, I can't remember what it's called. But they were really nice. And of course you can play around with how you want to decorate them. So it's a bit messy, this one. All the air bubbles. Really, I should have banged the mould to get rid of those. But I know for next time. And then also the little dinosaurs were just made using a little mould. Again, I'll put links below if you guys want to get your hands on the dinosaur molds. So there we go, my attempt at using chocolate. Like I say, I've still got a long way to go with my chocolate work, same as with buttercream. I'm not very good at it yet, but I wanted to show you what I'd done. Hopefully you guys like it. Let me know in the comments below if you've had a go at the chocolate lollies. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram and more.